All right, so Hono.js, huh? You want to know what's up with this thing?
Yeah, it's getting a lot of buzz.
Well, we took a deep dive into 3 YouTube videos about it, and I gotta say,
Yeah.
this JavaScript library, it's making waves.
It's being called a modern alternative to Express.js,
Oh yeah, I've heard that.
which, as you know, is a pretty popular framework.
Huge.
But what's cool is Hono.js isn't just like a copycat, you know?
Right.
It's leaner, faster, built from the ground up.
From scratch.
Yeah, to handle the demands of today's web.
And the whole thing is tiny. Get this.
Oh yeah, it's super small.
14 kilobytes.
That's amazing.
It's like fitting a whole web server logic into like a single text message. It's
wild.
that small size, though, means big performance.
Especially for serverless functions.
Oh, absolutely, where every millisecond counts.
Totally.
But here's the thing.
Yeah.
Even though it's new, Hono.js feels kind of familiar.
Yeah, if you've worked with Express.js,
I was going to say.
you'll feel right at home.
It's like they took everything good about Express, made it sleek, and then like injected it with like modern web magic or something.
Right.
One thing that kept coming up in the videos, though, was this context object.
Yeah.
And it sounds like it's kind of central to how this whole Hono.js thing works.
Oh, absolutely.
Can you like break that down a little bit?
Yeah, so the context object, think of it as like the command center of your Hono.js application. It's like your personal assistant
Right.
that handles all the communication between your application and the outside world.
Okay, I like that.
So any information coming in from a request, like user data, what they're trying to do,
Yeah.
it's all neatly packaged into this context object.
So instead of juggling a bunch of different variables and functions and all this stuff,
Exactly.
it's just all right there.
One place.
Handy.
Super convenient.
Speaking of handy, let's talk about how Hono.js adapts to different environments.
Oh, yeah.
Because the videos were showing it running on all sorts of things, not just Node.js.
Yeah, that's where it really shines. The flexibility.
Okay.
You're not locked
It's
in.
all.
you
Do
know.
anything specific.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So whether you like bun, the speed of bun, or maybe you're into Deno, robust security features,
Yeah.
Hono.js can adapt.
That's incredible.
Plus, it plays nice with all the popular deployment platforms.
All right.
Cloudflare Workers, Vercel, Netlify, anything you can think of.
That's amazing.
So you can pick the tools you want, the platforms that fit your project,
You know it's going to work.
and know that Hono.js will just fit right in.
It's like a universal adapter
Exactly.
for your
Yeah.
web development toolkit.
Totally.
We touched on streaming earlier.
Uh-huh.
Honestly, I'm still a little fuzzy on what that actually means and why it's such a big deal.
It's one of those concepts that sounds complex,
It does.
but it's pretty straightforward
Okay.
once you break it down.
Okay.
So in a traditional web app,
Yeah.
server gathers the whole response, right?
Yeah.
Before it sends it to the user.
Right.
That's fine if it's small,
Sure.
but imagine if you have a huge data set.
Like a chat app or something.
Yeah, like a chat app,
Yeah.
real time.
Yeah.
Waiting for the whole response, it's a bottleneck.
It would be.
Leads to a sluggish user experience.
Right. So how does streaming solve that?
Well, Hono.js takes a different approach.
Okay.
Instead of waiting, it starts sending data bit by bit
Oh.
as it's available.
As it comes in.
Yeah, think of it like reading a book, right?
Page by page.
Page by page, instead of waiting for the whole book to be printed before you start.
Makes a lot of sense.
So this continuous flow, that's streaming.
Okay. So with Hono.js, the user doesn't have to wait for everything to load at once. They
Exactly.
can start interacting with it right away.
Much faster.
That's cool.
And the videos actually showed a really clever example with ChatGPT.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they simulated the way ChatGPT reveals the answer, like word by word.
Oh, wow. So it's like it's typing it out.
Exactly.
That's really
Using Hono.js streaming.
So even though it's a simulation, it gives you a really clear picture
Right.
of how streaming could be used.
In a real app.
Yeah, in a real application, yeah.
Right. It's a great way to illustrate
Absolutely.
how Hono.js can handle like data-intensive tasks
And make it a smoother experience.
much more responsive for the user.
All right, so we've got this super lightweight, adaptable framework
Uh-huh.
that handles data like a champ.
Right.
But building web apps takes more than just that, right?
Yeah.
Like what about security and all that stuff?
But absolutely.
Like does Hono.js help with any of that?
It does. It's got built-in helpers and middleware to make things easier.
Oh, cool.
So, for example, it's got built-in support for JWT,
What's that stand for again?
JSON Web Token.
Right. Right.
which is a secure way to transmit information,
Okay.
often used for user authentication.
So it's like a little digital passport.
Yeah, like a digital passport.
Okay, verifying who they are.
Verifies their identity.
Got it.
Makes it easy to work with those.
Sure.
Oh, that's cool. That's really important.
Which is huge for security.
Security is everything these days.
Exactly.
All right, what else?
It's also got built-in support for WebSockets,
Oh, cool.
which are essential for those real-time applications.
Yeah, like chat apps and stuff like that.
Chat apps, live dashboards, that kind of thing.
Oh, that's neat.
And then it's got a whole collection of middleware for handling things like basic authentication, caching, and CORS.
Hold on, what's CORS?
CORS stands for Cross-Origin Resource Sharing.
And that is...
It's a browser security feature.
Okay.
Prevents websites from making requests to a different domain
Oh.
than the one they were served from.
Yeah.
Basically, a way to control which websites can access your app's data.
Ah.
Got it.
Right.
So Hono.js makes it easy to configure.
Makes sense.
So your app is secure and follows the best practices.
So it's like a bouncer
Like a bouncer.
at the club,
Exactly.
making sure only the right people get in.
The right people get in.
I like. And the best part is, you don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Right. Yeah.
Hono.js provides the tools
It's all there.
to handle it efficiently and securely.
So it's like having like a Swiss Army knife
Yeah,
of web dev tools.
totally.
Just ready to go.
Built in.
Speaking of tools, how does it play with others?
It's designed to be open
Okay.
and extensible.
Okay.
So it works really well with third-party middleware.
So we can use other stuff.
Yeah, leverage the power of the whole JavaScript ecosystem.
That's amazing.
One of the videos even showed how to add, like, rate limiting to an app using third-party middleware.
Now, what's rate limiting?
Rate limiting is a way to control how many requests an application can receive
Okay.
from a specific source
Yeah.
within a certain time frame.
So it's like a traffic cop
Like a traffic cop.
for your app,
Exactly.
making sure things are flowing smoothly.
Prevent gridlock
And you can integrate that into Honor.js.
easily.
Wow, that's powerful.
Super flexible.
So we've talked all this back-end stuff, but what about the front end?
Mm-hmm.
Specifically, like, how does Honor.js handle templating?
Well, this is where things get really interesting. Hono.js takes a unique approach.
Okay.
It offers first-class support for JSX.
Now, hold on. JSX. Isn't that like a React thing
It is
for building UIs?
Yeah, typically, back-end frameworks, they rely on separate templating engines like
Oh.
EJS, Handlebars.
Yeah.
But Hono.js is like, why not use JSX?
Oh, interesting.
Which a lot of developers are already familiar with.
So instead of learning a whole new templating language, you can just use your existing JSX skills.
Exactly.
That makes a lot of sense, yeah.
Much smoother.
So it's like a unified approach
Yeah,
to development,
could be a real game changer,
especially if you're working with React already.
especially if you're already in that React world.
So imagine being able to use the same components on the front end and the back end.
Right.
That's
It's
amazing.
super efficient.
It's like speaking one language
Yeah.
for your whole application.
Exactly. Reduces the cognitive overhead of switching back and forth.
Oh, absolutely.
Streamlining the development process.
I like that.
Makes it much smoother.
All right, so we've covered a lot of ground here.
Mm-hmm.
The basics of Honor.js, streaming, JSX templating.
Yeah.
But before we go on, one last question.
Mm.
How does Honor.js help with the interaction between the front end and the back end?
Oh, good question.
Specifically, how does it make sure that the data being passed back and forth is accurate?
That brings us to type safety.
Okay.
When you're dealing with data flowing between different parts of your application,
Yeah.
it's crucial to make sure the types match up.
Otherwise,
Otherwise, you get errors, bugs.
it's like trying to fit a square peg in a round hole.
Exactly.
It doesn't work.
To address this, Hono.js has this companion library called Hono Client,
Okay.
and that enhances the type safety between the front end and the back end,
So it's like the translator, making
Yeah.
sure everything's clear.
making sure they understand each other.
I like that.
And it uses TypeScript for that,
Oh, okay.
which is like
Yeah.
a superset of JavaScript.
Yeah.
Adds static typing.
Okay.
So you define the types of data your functions expect,
Right.
and it catches any mismatches.
Before they become a problem.
Exactly. One of the videos showed how you can use like the type of operator
Oh, okay.
to extract types from your Ono.js routes on the server side and seamlessly pass them to the Ono client
On the front end.
on the front end.
So it's like a spell checker,
like a spell checker.
making sure you're using the right words in the right context.
Exactly.
That's powerful stuff.
Really powerful, especially for large projects.
Absolutely.
Multiple developers.
Everyone's on the same page.
Exactly. Prevents those frustrating errors.
All right, so we've got this super lightweight, flexible framework.
Uh-huh.
Handles data like a pro.
Yep.
Even make sure our front end and back end are speaking the same language.
Exactly.
I'm impressed.
That's pretty cool.
But before we wrap up this first part of our deep dive,
Yeah.
one more question.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about how Hono.js can be used independently, but what about integrating it with existing frameworks?
Oh, yeah.
Like Next.js. Is that even possible?
That's a fantastic question.
Yeah.
And it leads us into some really interesting territory.
Ooh, I like where this is going.
Let's take a short pause here and then dive into that in the next section.
Okay, sounds good.
So you're curious about how Hono.js fits into a Next.js project.
Yeah, I am.
Well, one of the videos walks through a really clever approach.
Okay, lay it on me.
Imagine you have a Next.js application, right?
Okay.
And you want to add like a dedicated API section powered by Hono.js.
So like a separate area where all the data interactions happen.
Exactly. And Next.js makes this super easy
Oh, cool.
with its file system-based routing.
Okay.
So you create this special file named .path.js
Okay.
inside the Pagesapi directory.
So anything that goes to a URL starting with a pay will be handled by this special file.
Exactly.
Like a separate entrance.
Yeah.
For all the API requests within our Next.js application.
Right. And within that file, you set up your Hono.js app,
Good.
just like you would in a standalone project.
Got it.
Defining routes, handling requests.
So we're not really changing how Next.js works.
No.
We're just telling it to hand off all the API stuff to Hono.js.
Exactly.
That's clever.
It's very elegant.
And from the client side of our Next.js application,
Yeah.
we can still use the typed Hono client
Of course.
to interact with our API.
Right, which means we get all the benefits of type safety, code completion,
All get good stuff.
all the good stuff, helps catch errors
Big time.
early on.
That's awesome. So it's a win-win.
It is a win-win.
We get the power and simplicity of Hono.js for our API
Yeah.
and all the benefits of Next.js for our front end.
Best of both worlds.
I like how this all comes together.
Now, before we move on from Next.js, I do want to point out one more really neat aspect of this integration.
Okay.
Remember how we talked about Hono.js's unique approach to templating with JSX?
Yeah, still wrapping my head around that, but I'm starting to see the appeal.
Well, when you integrate Hono.js with Next.js,
Yeah.
you can potentially use the same Hono.js routes, even some of the same components,
Okay.
for both server-side rendering within Next.js
Okay.
and the client-side API calls.
Hold on. Walk me through that again.
So let's say you have a component
Okay.
that fetches data from your API,
Right.
displays it on a page
Makes sense.
with this integration.
Yeah.
You could use that same component
Okay.
on the server side
Okay.
during server-side rendering.
Okay.
This means the data would be fetched and rendered on the server before the page is even sent to the browser.
So instead of waiting for the page to load and then making an API call,
Exactly.
the data's already there.
Right there from the start.
That's a huge performance boost.
Huge, especially for content-heavy websites. And the fact that you can reuse the same Hono.js routes, components,
Yeah.
server-side, client-side,
It just makes sense.
less code duplication.
Better
Consistency, exactly.
Okay. I'm definitely seeing the synergy here.
Yeah.
This is more than just like sticking two frameworks together.
No.
This is about leveraging their strengths to create something really powerful.
Absolutely.
I like it.
All right, so we've covered the Next.js integration pretty thoroughly.
Yeah, I think so.
Let's rewind a bit and look at some of the practical examples.
Oh, okay.
One that stood out to me was the simple CRUD application,
Oh, the CRU app.
built entirely with Hono.js.
CRDO stands for Create, Read, Update, and Delete.
Yes.
It's like the hello world of backend development.
Exactly. It's a fundamental concept
Right.
for understanding how to manage data.
Makes sense.
And the example in the video was a fun one.
Yeah.
They built an app for managing a list of your favorite YouTube videos.
Oh, that's something I can relate to.
I think we all can.
So how did they build this using Hono.js?
Well, they kept it simple,
Right.
used an in-memory array to store the data,
Okay.
but the concepts would translate to a real database easily.
Oh, okay.
So each video in the list,
yeah.
it had properties like title, description, thumbnail, URL, whether you'd watched it, the YouTuber's name.
Okay.
Pretty basic stuff, but it gives you a good foundation.
For working with data.
Yeah, in Hono.js.
All right. So we've got our data structure set up.
Uh-huh.
how did they handle the actual CRU'd operations?
Well, let's start with create.
Okay, how do we add new videos to the list?
They set up a PST route using Hono.js.
PST is the standard way to create new data, right?
That's right. It's the HTTP method for that.
Okay.
So when a request hits this route, the code extracts the data for the new video from the request body.
Assuming it's sent as JSON.
That's as JSON, right?
Right.
Then it creates a new video object with all the necessary properties, including a unique ID, and adds it to the in-memory array.
So grab the data, create an object, add it to the list.
Exactly.
Got it. What about the read operation?
Read.
How do we retrieve videos?
They actually created two separate routes. One to get all the videos in the list, and another to get a specific video.
By its ID.
By its unique ID, yep.
So like having a master list and then being able to search.
Exactly. The route for getting all the videos, simple, just sends the entire array as a JSON response. The route for getting a specific video, first it extracts the ID from the URL parameters. Then searches for a matching video in the array.
Makes sense.
If it finds a match, it sends that video as a JSON response. If not, sends back a 404 not found error.
All right, so we've got create and read covered.
What about update?
Yeah, how do we modify an existing video?
For update, they used a PUT route. Another standard HTTP method, this time for updating data, similar to create. First grabs the ID from the URL parameters, takes the updated data from the request body.
Got it.
Finds the video with the matching ID, updates its properties with the new data,
simple,
and then sends a response, success.
It's like checking out a book from the library. Making some notes in it, and then returning the updated version.
Perfect analogy.
All right, last one. How do they handle delete?
For delete, they used a delete route. Which, you guessed,
is for deleting things.
It's for deleting things.
Makes sense.
This route also works by first extracting the ID from those URL parameters. Then goes through the array, removes the video with the matching ID.
Boom.
Gone.
Easy peasy.
All right, so they've got all 4 CRU operations implemented in a clean, logical way.
Nice and organized.
It's a great example of how to handle those basic data interactions.
Using Hono.js.
Exactly. Now, I remember we talked earlier about streaming.
Yes.
Did any of the videos actually show an example of that in action?
They did. Remember that YouTube video list app?
Yeah. They added a special route to that application specifically to demonstrate streaming.
What did it do?
The goal was to stream the description of a particular YouTube video word by word.
Word by word. That seems very specific. Why would you want to do that?
It was more to illustrate the concept than being like a real-world feature. But think about it. Imagine a really long description. And you don't want the user to wait for the whole thing to load before they can start reading. Streaming lets you send the data gradually so they can interact sooner.
So it's not just about speed. It's about providing a smoother user experience.
Exactly, more responsive.
So how did they actually do that?
Started by fetching the video data based on the ID, just like in the read operation.
Makes sense.
But instead of sending the whole description at once, they initiated text stream using Hono.js's stream.text function.
So they set up a pipeline.
What the pipeline?
To send the data gradually.
Bit by bit.
Like slowly pouring a glass of water instead of dumping the whole pitcher at once.
Perfect analogy.
Oh, yeah, I like it.
And within that stream, they looped through each character in the description, writing each character to the stream, and then pausing for a very short time.
They added pauses.
Why? Remember the sleep hack?
Oh, yeah.
They used it here to simulate the time it might take.
To process the data.
Yeah, or to fetch it in a real scenario.
So it's not actually slowing things down. It's about showcasing how streaming works.
Even when the data is already available.
So the pauses are for show.
For demonstrations.
Like adding dramatic pauses.
Exactly.
To speech.
To keep the audience engaged.
Right.
And so the result is the description is sent to the user.
Character by character.
Character by character.
Even though the whole description is already there.
Exactly.
I think I'm finally getting the streaming thing.
It's a neat concept.
It really is.
And Hono.js makes it pretty easy.
So while we're on the topic of best practices. What about error handling in these examples?
That's crucial.
What if something goes wrong?
Well, in the CRUD app example, they used try.catch blocks around the data operations.
And what do those do?
So these blocks are designed to gracefully handle any errors.
So it's like a safety net.
But a safety net.
If you fall,
it catches you.
Tells you what went wrong.
Exactly.
Okay, so if an error occurs,
yeah,
like trying to access a video that doesn't exist,
right,
the code and the catch block will run.
Executes, and that lets you log the error for debugging, and you can send a helpful message back to the user.
So they're not just catching the errors, they're providing information about what went wrong.
Right. Very important.
Did they use specific error codes?
They did. Standard practice, HTTP status codes, to indicate the type of error. So, for example, if the user gives an invalid video ID, server sends back a 400 bad request. If the video is not found.
404.
404 not found.
Got it.
And for general server errors, 500 internal server error.
Yeah.
And each response also includes a little message explaining the error, human readable.
So it's like a universal language of errors.
Exactly.
That the server and the developer can understand.
Makes debugging much easier.
Awesome. So we've seen how Hono.js handles CRUD operations, how it implements streaming, how it approaches error handling.
It's a very well-rounded framework.
Did the videos show off any other cool features?
They did. One video showed how to use middleware.
Oh, cool.
In a Hono.js application.
Okay.
Specifically, they use two built-in middleware functions called powered by and logger.
And what do those do?
The powered by one is pretty simple.
Okay.
It sets the X powered by header.
Okay.
And the response indicates it's powered by Hono.js.
So it's like a little badge of honor.
It's a little shout out.
I like it.
What about logger?
Yeah. What does that do?
Logger middleware logs information. About each incoming request.
Oh, okay.
So that includes things like the requested URL, the HTTP method, the response status code. Really valuable for debugging and monitoring.
So it's like a behind-the-scenes crew documenting everything that's happened.
So it's your little reporter.
That's cool, so you can see what's going on.
Under the hood.
I can see how that would be super helpful.
And the beauty of middleware is it lets you add functionality without messing up your core code.
To use things nice and clean.
Organized, modular.
I like it.
All right, so error handling, middleware. Hono.js seems to have it all.
It does. Now, remember earlier we were talking about how Hono.js can be integrated with Next.js?
Yes.
Did the videos actually show how to do that?
They did. Remember that special file?
In the pages.epi directory.
That's the key.
Right. So within that file, you set up our Hono.js app.
Exactly.
And Next.js just automatically routes all the API requests to it.
It just works.
It's so smooth.
And remember the Hono client.
The one that is hosted with type safety between the front end and back end.
When you integrate Hono.js with Next.js, you can use that typed Hono client on the client side of your Next.js application.
We get type safety and code completion.
All the benefits right in your Next.js front end code.
So not only are we combining two powerful frameworks, we're extending the type safety and convenience to the front end.
It's a beautiful thing.
Everything just clicks into place.
Seamless integration.
I love it.
Testament to how well-designed these frameworks are.
Absolutely.
It really shows how the web dev landscape is changing towards more modularity, interoperability.
It's exciting times.
It is exciting times.
Okay, I think we've covered the practical examples pretty thoroughly.
We've seen it all.
CRUD app, streaming, error handling, middleware.
Even integrating with Next.js.
Hono.js seems super versatile.
It's very powerful.
I'm impressed.
It's a framework to watch.
Before we move on to our final thoughts, I want to highlight one more thing from the videos.
Okay.
The emphasis on community.
Yes.
The creators really encourage people to get involved.
Engage with the project.
On GitHub, share feedback.
Even contribute.
I love to see that.
Me too.
It's not just about using a tool. It's about being part of something bigger.
Shaping the future. It's the fact that the creators are fostering that speaks volumes.
So they're committed to building something special.
They really are.
Okay. I think we've extracted all the juicy insights from these videos.
I think so.
Are you ready to wrap things up?
Absolutely.
With some final thoughts.
Let's do it.
Maybe a few provocative questions for our listener.
I like it.
Man, we've covered a lot.
We have.
From like the basics of Hono.js all the way to like integrating it with Next.js and even its potential like for these AI-driven web experiences.
Oh, yeah.
I'm excited.
It's pretty cool.
I'm really excited about the possibilities here.
It sparked my imagination, too.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things that really struck me is how Hono.js seems to be, like, at the forefront.
Yeah.
Several emerging trends in web development.
Like what? Give me an example.
Well, we talked about serverless functions, right?
Yeah, those are cool.
Self-contained units of code.
Right.
Run on demand, scale up or down. Automatically, based on the workload.
Yeah.
Game changer for building flexible and cost-effective applications.
And one of the videos mentioned how well Hono.js works with serverless functions.
Oh, yeah.
Especially when it comes to handling requests from AI models.
Especially for that.
That was really cool.
So imagine like you've got an AI model.
Okay.
Generates complex responses.
Yeah.
Like a language model writing stories.
Right.
Or a computer vision model analyzing images.
Yeah, those are big tasks.
Processing those requests can be tough.
Computationally intensive.
Yes, very.
But Hono.js running on a serverless platform could handle that.
No problem.
Without, like, breaking a sweat.
Effortlessly.
You wouldn't have to worry about managing servers or scaling your infrastructure.
Exactly. It's like having a team of specialists.
I like that.
Ready to take on the heavy lifting.
Just there.
So you can focus on the creative stuff.
And speaking of creative stuff, remember how we discussed Hono.js's streaming capabilities?
Yeah, of course.
Imagine combining that with AI.
Oh, wow.
So instead of waiting for the AI to generate the entire response,
you could stream the output back.
Bit by bit.
In real time.
That's amazing.
Right. The user wouldn't be staring at a loading screen.
Oh, that's the word.
They'd see the output unfold.
Right in front of them.
Yeah, like word by word or image by image.
It'd be like magic.
It would be.
This could change everything, like AI chatbots, real-time image analysis.
Interactive storytelling, even. Imagine, like, you're interacting with a chatbot.
Yeah.
And instead of getting a canned response,
yeah,
the AI is crafting it.
Right there.
As you watch.
That's amazing. Or you upload an image.
Yeah.
And the analysis appears.
Gradually. Yeah.
Like highlighting different parts.
As the AI processes it.
That's like the future of web development is like right here, right now.
It really feels like it.
AI, serverless functions, and Hono.js.
All working together.
It's mind-blowing.
It is pretty amazing.
And then you add in the ability to deploy Hono.js on edge networks.
Oh, yeah.
That takes it to a whole new level.
Edge computing brings the processing power closer to the user, reduces latency, improves performance.
For anyone who might not be familiar, can you quickly explain edge computing?
Sure. So basically, it's distributing your application across a network of servers that are geographically closer to your users.
So instead of all requests going back to, like, a central server, they're handled by this server that's closest to the user's location.
So if a user in Europe makes a request, instead of going all the way to the U.S., it's handled in Europe.
So much faster.
So much faster.
That's amazing.
Reduces that round trip time.
I love it. So Hono.js, efficient, fast.
Yep.
Combine that with edge computing, low latency.
You can create some incredible web experiences.
Responsive, interactive.
It's like having a personal assistant for your AI.
Right there in your pocket.
Right at your fingertips.
I love that analogy.
Ready to respond instantly.
So we've gone from the nuts and bolts of Hono.js to envisioning this future where AI-powered applications are just like seamlessly integrated into the web.
Powered by a network of edge servers.
It's a beautiful thing.
It's very exciting.
I'm ready to start building.
Me too. It's clear Hono.js is more than just another framework.
It's like a movement.
It's a powerful tool, pushing the boundaries.
Absolutely. And for our listener, if you're curious, I encourage you, dive into the world of Hono.js.
Explore the possibilities.
Who knows what you might create?
The future is yours.
I like that. On that note, I think we'll wrap it up.
That's good.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into Hono.js. Until next time.